Hi there. We start a new week of live broadcasts of Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio, along with Debbie Georgiani, the traveling woman, Debbie Georgiani. I am Jerry Usher. Welcome back home, Debbie, for what, 2 nights in your own bed, I think?
One. Actually, we got back late last night from Buffalo, New York. The Station of the Cross had their wonderful spring appeal. It was very active, very successful, great participation, and it was wonderful. And I'm actually heading off to Annunciation Radio in Toledo, Ohio tomorrow for 4 days. They do the first day there locally, and I do 3 days. And we're hoping for just an amazing sense of community where everybody steps up and just says, I love Catholic radio and I want it to go strong into the future. Jerry, you know I'm a firm believer. We don't want Catholic radio to just survive. We want it to thrive. And in order for that to happen, we have to have full participation. So yeah, I'm very excited. A little tired, jet lagged, whatever you call it. I'm getting older, so it's taking me a while to adjust. But hey, you know what? It's all for building up the kingdom. So.
Yeah, and on behalf of Debbie and everyone at EWTN Radio, we just want to say to anyone who has prayed for or financially supported your Catholic station or the EWTN network or your local network, thank you so very, very much. You have no idea what that means. And a special invitation to those of you who have never taken that step forward. Maybe you pray, maybe you listen, maybe you benefit, maybe you think it's a great thing. And the one pledge drive after another comes and goes, and you just don't quite take that step. Please do it today. Pick up the phone and call your local station. Say, I want to be a first-time donor. They're going to flip out. They're going to welcome you. It's going to be a great experience. So please do that. And Debbie, speaking of things that we perhaps have longed to do, wanted to do for a long time, but have just been putting off for whatever reason, that's our theme today. That's what we want to hear from people about.
Yeah, we titled it, Let's Do This. Have you ever said that where you're like, I want to go skydiving. Yeah, let's do this. But time is flying by. And it's really, I think we all have those bucket list things and all those things we want to do and want to get done in our life and even in our spiritual lives. And maybe we just think we have all the time in the world, but we really don't. As a matter of fact, who was it? David Cassidy, the one who recently died from the Partridge Family. When his daughter said goodbye to him, one of his last words were, "So much wasted time." And that's what he said, so much wasted time. I mean, that's very interesting. So we want to do a lot of things. All of us have dreams. We have vision. We have things we want to, do for ourselves. We envision things to be different and better and bigger and whatever. But do we really make the time to do it? Do we really focus that time? And, it's interesting, Jerry, as I get older, I never thought about this until I turned 50. I'll be really honest with you. I thought I had all the time in the world. And then all of a sudden when 50 hit, I was like, oh my goodness, I have 1 foot in the grave. That's what I felt like. Wow. And I don't know if you felt that way too, but I just felt like time was really moving really quickly at that point.
Well, we do reach certain age milestones and things where, things come into sharper focus, especially those things that we have long talked about doing. They've been on our hearts, but we just haven't taken that step forward. So that's the question for you as you're listening today to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Is there something, you've been saying it forever, hey, we really have to do such and such, or we really need to go to this place, or, that we talked about starting that small business, and you talk about it and talk about it and talk about it. And then maybe one night you're laying in bed with your spouse and he or she looks over at you and says, you know what? It's time. Let's do it. We've been talking about this for 20 years, 25 years. Let's do this. What is something that you find that light bulb has gone on and you made that intentional effort to do, or a place to go, or somebody to visit? 833-288-3986. Grab a line before they're full.
I've traveled to Italy and seen Rome and the Vatican and everything, and then the Holy Land. You and I took that pilgrimage together. Dear listeners, if it's in your budget, if you can do it, I think it's our birthright to go see the Vatican and to go see where Jesus ministered, where he died, where he rose, where his mom was. I mean, it's just amazing. And I think that's really important too, because oftentimes I remember my grandmother used to always say, I want to get back to Italy. I want to get back. And she never made it. I knew she would never go because she was just that type of person. She never wanted to spend that kind of money. But I think if you really feel, passionate about that to move your spiritual life forward, you should really do it. And I think that's, it's important to make that time. And I remember, Jerry, when we were flying over to the Holy Land, do you remember all the young Jewish men and women that we were like, why is everybody going over to the Holy Land? And they said it's their birthright. It's their birthright, tour where there's an organization that pays for them to go back and see their roots, and that's our roots as well. So I don't know. I feel very passionate about that, especially the Holy Land. It was very, very, very emotional. Remember, I don't think there was a dry eye in the whole pilgrimage.
Right. So here you go. It's 1-833-288-EWTN. Take two with Jerry and Debbie. You could also text a comment or a question or an insight to the letters EWTN to 55000. There could be a small data rate depending on your plan. You can add a comment on our YouTube channel, Facebook, EWTN Catholic Radio Facebook page. But we're talking today about those things, and every one of us has them. Whether it's something individual to me, unique to me as an individual, or a married couple, or maybe as a family. You talk about we got to go visit this monument or this park or whatever, and years pass and vacations come and go, and you just don't do it until finally. Maybe you still haven't. Is there something on your list that you still are just dreaming about and longing for? Or perhaps you finally did take action. How did you feel? How did you feel once you finally made that intentional step? You started a business. You decided to start taking a daily nap, whatever it was. 833-288-EWTN.
I like the way you said intentional step, and I think that's really important because you have to sometimes move mountains to get things done when you want something like that, like a dream vacation or something of that nature, or something that's out of your schedule and your routine. You have to really make that intentional step. I just want to do a quick shout out real fast to Jason, who called in on Friday. From the Station of the Cross listening area. Jason, there has been so many emails and texts coming in with great words of encouragement and just words of wisdom coming from our Take Two family. Jason, please, if you can, email us at take2, the number 2, at EWTN.com. I just want to share with you some of the exciting things of the support that you have from the Take Two family. So Jason from the Station of the Cross, you know who you are. You called in on Friday. If you can email us, take2, the number 2, at EWTN.com. And all of you are welcome to email us at that same address as well.
It really is cool. I think we got as much or more, encouraging, supportive emails about a caller, in this case Jason, than we have in a long time. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful story. Folks, if you missed it, go back and listen to the archive of Friday's show. Jason spent a little time in jail, and now he is on fire for the Catholic faith. And I think he said he's in RCIA, Debbie, and looking forward to attending Mass and receiving the Eucharist. So it's a very, very beautiful story.
His girlfriend and his mom are interested in the faith as well. Exciting stuff happening.
Here's another angle on this. Maybe we all have friends who say these things, Debbie. One of these days, I'm going to, one of these days. And then have you been the person to say to that individual, okay, you keep saying you're going to do that. When are you going to do it? And it was because of your little nudge, or maybe not such a subtle nudge, that they went ahead and did it. And then they thanked you for it. Maybe you were the
Jerry.
instrument. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jerry. When am I going to get that flight with you on a plane that I have been waiting for about 8.5 years?
It's funny you would bring that up. Because that is, for me, that is the one thing that I keep saying. I'm going to finish my flying lessons, which, by the way, began in the year 2000. I'm embarrassed to say. This is something that can be done in a couple
years.
I know it is. And I don't know if I get cold feet. It's not cheap to do it. I don't think it's the money necessarily, but maybe I've always had a little bit of a problem, Debbie, a little bit of a challenge finishing things, completing things. I've talked about this on the air before, and I think there might be a psychological block, maybe a fear of failure, I don't know, of getting up to that point where, I do what's called the check ride. It's that final test. You got to take a written test too. I have soloed twice. I've been up in the plane twice by myself. I've gotten quite a ways through the lessons, but I just keep stopping and I don't finish that. So you're right, Debbie. But I could take you up with my instructor in the plane with us. So.
Oh.
But you're talking about
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
actually be better, actually. I
Yeah,
feel
I'm sure you'd probably feel a lot safer.
much more security. No, I told you I would go on that flight, but I do have flashbacks of Buddy Holly, and and I don't want that to be the fate, but. But Jerry, I would do it. I trust you. You're great at what you do. You're very methodical. I would go up on that flight. I would just be praying heavily with all my rosaries, Padre Pio medals, and everything else around me. Holy water, blessed salt. No, it'll be fun. I'm just teasing you, Jerry. You need to do it. You're really good at it. It'll be fun. You know why you don't want to do it? Because it's probably expensive to rent a plane.
Yeah, it's not cheap, like I said, and I know that's one aspect of it, but boy, it would be a shame if I got as far as I have and didn't one day finish it. So that's on my list, folks. What's on yours? 833-288-EWTN.
We know you like listening to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio, but have you thought about bringing them to your next event? No matter what type of event you're hosting, parish mission, conference, or retreat, trust Jerry and Debbie to make it come alive. Begin the process today of taking your presentation to the next level of success. For information on booking Jerry and Debbie, visit take2show.com, click on the J&D logo.
The Reason for Our Hope with Father Larry Richards.
Do you know Christ? Do you know him intimately? Like you know your wife, like you know your best friend, like you know your children. And if the answer in your heart of hearts is no, I haven't a clue, then you haven't even begun yet to live the purpose of your life. And that's what needs to start happening. You got to deal with that question. It's the most important question of your life. And again, it's going to take you time. You know, how do you fall in love with anybody? Those of you who are married, you didn't get married to your wife by meeting her once and giving her 45 minutes to an hour once a week. You spent time with her. You got to know her. So the same thing has to happen with God. You got to ask that question, and it's going to take you time, but you got to do it. You got to answer that question. My thing is always seek truth, because truth will always lead you to God.
We're so glad you're with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Can I just make sure that I highlight a show that I just really, really enjoy? I love. It's great because it keeps us informed about what's going on in the world, and I think that's very, very important. They do a fabulous job. The Sunrise Morning Show with Anna Mitchell and Matt Swaim every morning at 6 a.m. Eastern Time. 6 a.m. Eastern Time. If you can try to catch the Sunrise Morning Show in your local area or via app or however you can do it, I would highly recommend it. I always start my day off making sure I tap into the Sunrise Morning Show with Anna Mitchell and Matt Swaim. They do a great job. And so I just wanted to highlight that in case our listeners weren't aware that that is happening every weekday.
All right.
Right?
Yep, we're talking about something that you have long discussed doing, thought about doing, dreamt about doing, and just for some reason it hasn't happened, or maybe it did happen. How did it feel? Maybe it became a regular thing. Maybe you went to a certain place you always wanted to go, and it's now become your annual destination for a vacation or a trip. 833-288-EWTN. Say hi to Patty first in Akron, Ohio, listening to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on The Rock. Hi, Patty. Welcome.
Hi, Jerry. How are you?
Doing well, Patty. Thanks for the call.
I want to preface what I'm calling for by telling you that to encourage you to get those flying lessons.
All right, thank you.
Because my brother-in-law, who is 66, is going. He's going next week to get his instrumental licensing. So
Beautiful.
He's dreamed about it for 25 years, and at 66, he's finally doing it. So
Oh, good. That gives me hope. It gives me hope and encouragement, Patty. Thank you.
Absolutely. So the reason I'm calling is I have always dreamed as an adult to visit a monastery, and my second dream that was kind of attached to that was to have spiritual direction from a monk. And it just never seemed to be feasible. I didn't have time. I didn't have the funds, working kids, all that kind of stuff. But recently I moved to Akron, Ohio, and not far from me is Loyola Retreat Center, which is also where some monks live. And so I went and visited an abbot, and for 6 months got spiritual direction from him. Actually, probably more like 8 months. And it was the most, I mean, I had just grown spiritually exponentially, going to see the abbot once a month. And it's made a huge difference in my prayer life and the way I look at things. And it's really neat that somebody who lives a life so differently than I've lived my life has a whole different perspective on prayer and devotion and how to approach the Lord. And it just has really fed me spiritually.
Wow. Yeah, I'm happy to hear about that, Patty, because I, as many you know and many people know, I spent 6 years in formation for the priesthood starting in 1989, and it was even before then that I was seeing a spiritual director. And basically, for those who aren't familiar with that phrase, it's in my case, I prefer a priest. It could be a religious man or woman. It could be a lay person giving spiritual direction. But typically, you go to somebody and you just bare your heart. You're an open book, and you share your whole life and what's going on, where you've been, where you are, where you think you're going. The reason I like a priest is because I can go to confession at the same time. Doesn't have to be. So that's kind of what spiritual direction is. But Debbie, she's pointing out something. I don't know that everybody could have a spiritual director, because then our priests and religious would, if every Catholic in the world did, or Christian in the world, I don't think there'd be enough people to do the spiritual direction. But it's good when we hear from our listeners who are reaching out for that.
Oh, absolutely. And Patty, that had to have catapulted you to the next level of your spirituality. And that's exactly what spiritual direction can do. I was a spiritual director for many years. I actually went through the training course with Tom Peterson, Catholics Come Home, Virtue Media, and we did this together, and we ended up going into spiritual direction. And it's really wonderful how people take these huge leaps in their spiritual life. And for you to be able to be near a retreat center, you said Loyola Retreat Center, and have a spiritual director of that nature, I think that you're really blessed. And I would encourage you to continue on with that, because the great thing about spiritual direction is that it, like you said, Jerry, you have someone else you can bounce it off of, the ideas, the thoughts, even the things that are happening to you in a spiritual way, and then they're confirmed by that other person. You need that outside source to be able to make sure that it's of possibly the will of God, and that it's not something that's just a human desire. So Patty, more power to you. Keep going, and don't let the evil one distract you, because a lot of times when we take very long movements forward towards God, the evil one tends to get in there somehow. So don't let that distract you. Keep purging forward and continue to seek out that support around you. I think that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. It's a great reminder. What do you think about? I mean, what would you say to everybody else about this? Because you've experienced it. So maybe tell everybody else what the end result is.
Starting it was made me nervous, because I felt I was, as a lay person, I was seeing a really holy man. He was in his 80s. Unfortunately, he's sick, and we can't continue with it, so I'm searching for another director. But I did go to him for 8 months, and in the beginning it was a little intimidating until I got met him the second time. I was instantly comfortable. And just like you said, he was very direct, very accepting of who I was, where I was, what I was struggling with. And what really struck me with his gentle, happy soul was, how holy you could feel that he was and is. And the second thing was how open he was to letting me pour my heart out. And I got the sense that he really was listening, and he immediately seemed to be able to come up with a book I should read, or a novena I should pray, or he gave me some things that I will probably cherish forever, that I now say every day.
Right.
And it got to a point where I couldn't wait to go. And then I did receive confession from him. So it's been like 2 months since he's been in the hospital. I haven't been able, and he probably will not come back. But so I feel this deep desire to continue, and I will agree with you. Satan has really been challenging me. That is real. That is real, but it's not frightful, because I know that God is more powerful than Satan.
Patty, would you mind giving us this priest monk's first name, I guess his religious name, I guess? We would certainly love to give thanks to God for his life and pray for his health situation, if you can do that.
Sure. Abbot Clement, Clement.
Okay, Abbot
of
Clement.
Loyola Retreat Center. Yeah.
Okay, he will definitely be in our prayers.
Sweet man.
Well,
Thank you.
So many of them are. Debbie and I have met so many beautiful monks and priests and women religious, and we're so blessed. We're so blessed as Catholic Christians to have these men and women who give all of themselves to the Lord and subsequently to us as well. And Patty, you've had a great blessing here. And we'll pray that you find another wonderful, holy, spiritual director that can continue to help you lead you down that road of life. Thanks, Patty. We're going to go over to Jean next. Not too far from Akron in Dayton, Ohio, listening on the EWTN app to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hi, Jean. Welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Doing okay. How are you, Jean?
I'm good. I was speaking with my local priest about issues with anger or irritation. I work a lot of days a week, usually 7, and I'm a home health aide, and I don't work all day every day, but busy. Anyways, he suggested relaxation, and I love music, so I have been thinking about going back and taking lessons. I took lessons as a child at my mother's insistence and didn't pursue it, but I think I might do that. I love music, so.
Good for you.
It would be a good way to relax.
Yeah, and it's what you enjoy.
And there's a local program through the University of Dayton that is called New Horizons for people who are not young to pursue music. So it will be fun. It will be fun.
Well, Jean, and I pray that when you take these lessons and everything, I'm sure you're going to do is for the glory of God. Because let me share something with you. This is talk about music to my ears. This is absolutely amazing. I was just reading a gigantic article about how music is very powerful to really move somebody spiritually. And it's interesting when you look at, and please, I grew up in the era where we had the Beatles and all that kind of stuff. I understand the whole rock phenomenon. I get it. But when you have really good, beautiful music that allows the soul to just be in a peaceful place, a prayerful place, that brings glory to God, I think, anyway. That's what I read in this article. And I'll tell you, I think it's very powerful. The more I've been reading about it, the more I realize that good music, Gregorian chants and classical music and music that has, some depth and meaning to it, not just headbanging music, which, no disrespect, don't have any of the I don't need any of the millennials calling me. I get it, because I have millennial children. I get it. But it's powerful, and it does allow the soul to just kind of take a breather, just to relax. And so I think that was great advice that was given to you, and I pray you continue on with that. And please keep us posted and let us know what things unfold. And again, I'm going to say it again, don't let Satan distract you, because I have a keyboard sitting in the room right next to me, next to the studio, and Satan always seems to distract me to go to get me not to sit down at that keyboard. And it's interesting how he works. And so more power to you, Jean. I think that's awesome.
Great to hear from you, Gene. Thank you so much for your call from Dayton, Ohio, to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on this Monday on EWTN Radio. Our sincere gratitude to Rich Jesse, Jeff Burson, Matt Gabensky, and everybody else at EWTN. They help to make the show what it is. You, our listeners, certainly do that, and our affiliates, too. We appreciate each and every person who's a part of our humble little effort to be on the radio every day. And today, we are kicking off the week by talking about the whole idea of well-laid plans, I guess, the best-laid plans. You know, we have these things in our lives where we say, well, one of these days I'm going to do such and such, or I really have to get around to resuming something in my life that I've used to do, or maybe there's a place you've wanted to go, and you know, life gets in the way. Families, kids, jobs, all of these things. Maybe there comes a time. Maybe for you, it was when your kids were finally grown and gone. You were empty nesters, and then you attacked that list of things that you'd always wanted to do. Maybe it took a little bit of time, but you got there. How did that feel for you? 833-288-3986 is the number to call. 833-288-EWTN. We do have a phone line that is open if you would like to grab that, and we'll get you on the program. In fact, Carol is going to be next, followed by Chris and the others right here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
The Venerable Fulton John Sheen.
If we wish to keep our rights and liberties, we must also keep our God. Piety and patriotism go together. That's the first glory of being an American.
The leading Catholic voices are on EWTN Radio.
The Holy Father's prayer intention for the month of May is that Christians in Africa, in imitation of the merciful Jesus, may give prophetic witness to reconciliation, justice, and peace.
I know Carmelite nuns who get a call from their Mother Superior every June telling them where they're going to be assigned in the year ahead. And even if they know they're probably not going to be transferred, before that call, they're supposed to pack up all their belongings and wait for the phone to ring. It's an exercise in detachment from the world. We all go through that in our own ways, don't we? Maybe sometimes, something becomes unstable in our current jobs, or a new opportunity opens up, or we have a financial crash that forces us to rebudget everything, or we go on a job interview, or maybe get a call from a doctor with some disturbing news. Even if those experiences don't pan out to be anything, and they usually don't overlook their importance. That's God reminding us that, in the end, this world isn't our home. And if you get too attached to the little comforts you surround yourself with, you won't be available to God's grace and His call in your life. Stay open. This is Chris Stefanik from RealLifeCatholic.com on EWTN Radio.
Here's today's quote from Mother Angelica's Perpetual Calendar. Often we go through dry periods. You go through this and that, but the heart is the vehicle through which I can reach God. Hidden in my heart, hidden in others, hidden in the world, hidden in everything that happens without exception. You can get your own copy of Mother Angelica's Perpetual Calendar by going to EWTNRC.com. That's EWTNRC.com.
Hi, this is Cy Kellett. Later today on Catholic Answers Live, our chaplain is in. Father Hugh Barber will be here to take your calls. And Dr. Holly Ordway will also be here, second hour, to talk about a child's imagination and relating to God. Catholic Answers Live, 6 p.m. Eastern, here on EWTN Radio. Now back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Cy Kellett is so cool. I love what he's doing with Catholic Answers Live. It's just amazing. I love the way he just said, now back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. He's a good friend of ours, and he's wonderful. And he wants to see souls grow closer to God. Just amazing. Today we're talking about let's do this. Do you ever say that to your family or friends? Come on, let's do this. Let's take that trip. Let's jump out of an airplane. By the way, I just want to say, I've always wanted on my bucket list was jumping out of an airplane, but my son jumped out of an airplane, so that was good enough for me.
You did it vicariously.
Exactly. But, it's important, Jerry. It's seizing the moment, and, we don't know how much time we have on this earth. And especially, I think, too, with relationships, sometimes we're always saying, oh, I've really got to reconcile with that family member or that friend, and we let time pass, and that's not always a good thing. So I always think like there's no time like the present, and I think that's really important. So let's get back to the phones if we can, Jer. And Carol is up next in Moses, is Lake Washington on Divine Mercy Radio. Hi, Carol. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Carol.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yeah, if your radio's on, you might want to turn that down because you might be hearing double audio. Hello, Carol. We're here.
Hello.
Carol, we're here.
Hello.
Maybe let's put Carol back on hold for a moment. Matt can check in with her, and why don't we try Chris in Cincinnati? Debbie, how does that sound?
That sounds great. Hi, Chris.
Hi.
Can you hear us? Okay, we can hear you as well. So, and you're listening on Sirius XM 130. So, welcome to Take Two, Chris.
Thank you. Okay, so what I wanted to share is when my husband was probably late 40s, he got laid off from his job, and I said, well, if you want to do something, like, this would be a good time to do it, because this is like kind of, we're getting older, and if you want to go to school for something or make a decision, this would be the time to do it. So he decided he wanted to go to nursing school. So he completely changed careers, went to nursing school, got a master's degree in nursing, and eventually got a job at the VA hospital, working with the veterans there, which he really, really loves. And he actually works really well with the pastoral care people there and gets to do a lot of witnessing and leading people back to the church. And in the meantime, while he went to school and got a job, I worked and got the insurance and all that. And then when he got done with nursing school and had a job, then I left my job and started doing rehabbing houses, flipping houses, and being a property manager full time, because that's what I had wanted to do, to have my own business. So it worked out great for both of us.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to say how cool that is, Chris. But I mean, at the time, when you said your husband lost, his job, and it had to create some moments of maybe worry, a little bit of anxiety. How are we going to pay the bills? What does God plan in all of this? But beautiful thing that I love, Debbie, about what they did is they really took initiative, and they went deep within themselves into their hearts. Rather than just scramble, to put a Band-Aid on that, you really looked for a really meaningful and long-term solution, something that was going to not only maybe resurrect some previous older dreams, but also bear much fruit going forward.
Right.
I think that's absolutely fantastic.
I couldn't agree more. Chris, what you said has so many catechetical elements, and let me just highlight a few of them. Your husband was laid off, and a lot of times when somebody's laid off, they automatically feel my world is over, my life is over. And no, you said perfect timing, great timing, we're shifting here, and now your husband went on to get his degree, and he went on to a meaningful, fulfilling job. When he was set, you went on for your meaningful, fulfilling position. And here's the thing that's interesting about that. You created, which we always know, as long as we're breathing and we're on this earth, there are options. Do not allow the world and Satan to tell you there's no options. I've known people that have been taken down to nothing, and I mean nothing, and they have risen up. It's funny. I live in the Phoenix area, and the Phoenix bird is rising from the ashes, that type of thing. And it's very interesting because people have gone to the very bottom of where you think there's no way they're going to recover from this, and they come out of it bigger, stronger, better, and much more spiritually sound, which much more fulfilling, with more fulfilling life's purpose. And it sounds like you and your husband did just that. What I'm glad about why you called in, Chris, is because there's others listening right now that really feel like they're in that mouse maze, and they just hit the wall and there's nowhere to go. And that's not true. As long as we're breathing and living, we have a chance to have options. So I want to just say thank you for taking the time, because thousands of people could be listening right now, and you could have changed their life just by your life story. What do you think? No pressure, right, Chris?
Well, you're welcome. And the other amazing thing that happened actually while we were doing that is we had been away from the church for 20 years. And while all of that was going on, we actually came back to the Catholic Church and got real involved in our parish. And So our lives really did make a huge turnaround.
Wow. Blessed be God. Blessed be God.
Amen.
I know, Chris, you and your husband don't have to be told this. Of all the other good things that you mentioned prior to what you just said, nothing holds a candle to that gift right there. You know that. I mean, that's pretty obvious on its surface. But I'm glad you tagged that on there because, wow, that just makes it all the more special, Debbie. What God had planned for them in the midst of what could have really seemed like, you said, defeat, so.
Yeah. We're meant for God. We're meant to go back to God, and life is just a training ground for us to be able to get there, to get back to God. And Chris, your story is very, very powerful. You may want to just write that down. Write your story down. I know sometimes we think that our stories they're just our life journey, but you know what? They're very powerful. And your story has a lot of elements to it that I think others can learn from. So just think about that, Chris. Pray about it. You and your husband, and maybe share your story somehow, even with religious education classes, or even in public schools. I was invited in to share my story in a public school. I was like, why? It's so Catholic, but they wanted to hear it. So you never know.
Wow, great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that suggestion. I've actually thought about that.
Oh, good. Good.
Well, there you go. There's that nudge you needed, Chris. Speaking of our topic today, you've thought about doing that, but haven't yet gotten around to it. Maybe Debbie's suggestion there is what you needed. So bless your heart, Chris. Thank you for calling. We'll keep you in our prayers, and please do the same for Debbie and me and the show team and all of our listeners. 833-288 3986 is the show number. We do have an open phone line, and I'm looking at the clock. We've got time to get you on the program. We're going to get back to Carol here in a moment, but again, just to reset the topic, let's do this is what we're discussing and delving into today. It's common to all of us, okay? We use phrases like one of these days, or hey, I really have to, or let's be sure we do such and such again soon. But life sweeps us away, between job and family obligations, all sorts of things that present themselves. Those things we truly look forward to or doing again kind of get pushed back further and further. So is there something that's kind of gnawing at you that you just keep on saying, I need to go here, I need to do this, I need to start this up, I need to revisit such and such an activity in my life? Here's the number to call, and maybe you've done that and achieved that, and you want to share that. 833-288-3986. Okay, Deb?
Okay, back to Carol in Moses Lake, Washington. Carol, we're so glad we got you back. Hi, welcome.
I am too. Thank you.
Hey, sure.
So what's your take on this?
Well, my take is I had long thought of walking the Camino de Santiago de Compostela, and I did it. I had kind of a false start. I had planned to do it for my 70th birthday, but I broke my leg when I was training for the walk that year. So I came back at age 71 and put my backpack on and strapped my boots up and held on to my trekking poles and trusted in God and took the first step forward.
Wow. So did you walk the Camino?
I did.
Wow. So tell it, Jerry, can you back up a little bit? Let's share with our listeners what exactly the Camino is, walking the Camino, because I've read Father Dave Pavanka's book on it, and that's about the extent of it.
Well, Carol, why don't you do that? I know that it's a long kind of a hike, several 100-mile hike, I believe, in Spain. But Carol, why don't you tell our listeners what exactly the Camino is? It's known typically as the Camino. It has a longer name, like you said.
It is. And Camino itself means road or journey. It is an ancient pilgrimage route. It's been around for well over 1,000 years. The route, there are many routes. The Camino that most people think of is the Camino Frances, and that goes across northern Spain, just on the other side of the Pyrenees to Santiago de Compostela, which is a town on the western border of Spain, where it is believed and tradition tells us the bones of St. James the Greater, the Apostle, are entombed in the cathedral. The route has been used in many ways. It could be a spiritual journey. It could be a religious journey. It could be a simple trek. That particular route is 500 miles. There are other ways to get to Santiago. Sometimes it was used as a penance in the Middle Ages for remission of temporal punishment of sins. How much more do you want to know about it?
No, that is fabulous. That helps us. May I just ask one quick question? How far did you walk, Carol?
I walked 250 miles of the route.
Oh, my goodness.
It's very possible to take public transportation, bus or train, through some sections of the route if one doesn't want to walk all of it. The tradition is that one has to walk the last 100 kilometers, which is about 62 miles, in order to be awarded the Compostela, which is a certificate that one has walked the Camino. And I wanted to walk all the different parts of the Camino. There are many provinces in Spain, and they each have their own flavor, so to speak, and literally in the foods that is indigenous to that area. So I wanted to have a taste of all the aspects of the Camino. So I skipped around a little bit. I thought 500 miles was a little bit too much for me, but I surprised myself of how much physically I could do with the grace of God. Trust me, it was the grace of God all the way through.
Right. And just one other quick thing, Carol. We're both fascinated by this, and we don't want to hold you up too long, but this is physically very beneficial, obviously, for one's health. If one is able to do this, it's invigorating.
Yes.
It's all of those things, but spiritually too. Tell us just about, I guess the end result obviously is getting to the cathedral where St. James is traditionally said to be buried, or some of his bones, but also just along the way, the spiritual blessings and graces and encounters that you have with God. I'm sure those were there for you and all the others.
The spiritual blessings are just so numerous. There were so many times when I could have been physically hurt, and I'm talking from the trail itself. I never was ever concerned about any physical danger from other pilgrims or that type of thing. There was such an incredible sense of how deeply and how much I can trust in Jesus throughout the entire trip. And this was carried over not only to the aspects of what I had to accomplish every day, but to my spiritual life as well, that I truly, and this sounds really kind of banal to say I can truly trust in Jesus, but when one feels that deeply in one's heart, it was a very moving spiritual experience.
Oh, I bet.
There's so many.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. You're perfect. Carol, let me just ask you. You said at the beginning when you were preparing for the trip, did you say a broken leg or arm? Leg, you said?
Leg.
Okay. So this is my point. This is my point exactly, Carol. I mean, that could have said, you could have said, I think you said 70 years old. You're 70 years old, and you took the trip when you were 71. Here's the thing: you could have said, "No way, no how. I'm not going to do this."
Yeah, right.
250 miles. I broke my leg. I'm not doing this. Preparing. This is not going to happen. But you did it, and this is what the good Lord, I think, puts these extraordinary experiences and life lessons in front of us. So that we come into them knowing that it's going to build trust. And that's exactly what happened with you in this 250-mile hike during the Camino. I mean, I think that's fascinating. When you look at the spiritual elements, the spiritual growth that you encountered throughout this whole entire thing, from the preparation phase all the way to when you actually walked the walk, I think that's fascinating. And that just gives us all hope and inspiration to not let things set us back, because so many times when we make these great plans, especially when the ultimate goal is to get closer to God, all of a sudden everything starts to happen. The roof starts to leak, this happens, that happens, and you get a broken leg or a broken arm or something of that nature, and we say, I guess it wasn't meant to be. But not you, Carol, and I think that's awesome, and God bless you for doing that. I just think that's going, in my opinion, my humble opinion, I think that's going to give you incredible eternal rewards, because you said, no, it's not going to stop me. Am I right about that?
I have been so blessed. And again, to God be the glory. When I finally reached the Atlantic Ocean, I have a picture of my feet right at the surf with a number of the toes bandaged up, but I have written in the sand, thanks. And it was an incredible Deo Gracias at the end of the trip. There's a gazillion other wonderful things that happen, but there are many other people that want to share their story too.
Wow. Carol, all I can say is I'm going to add this to my list. I've got horrible knees and feet and ambulatory difficulty, mobility problems and stuff because of just all kinds of things, life's like wear and tear, but you have inspired me, Carol. Thank you. And I'm going to consider adding this to my list of things that I just have to do one day. Carol, thanks for calling, and
thank you,
enjoy
Carol.
Beautiful Moses Lake, Washington.
It's beautiful.
From
Jerry, real quickly, Marty and I will join you in that quest, because we've always wanted to walk the Camino. After we read Father Dave Pavanka's, I don't know if you know that Margie and Bob, Father Dave's parents, were in my adult formation class for many, many years. They're dear friends. And so we got to grow and to know and love the Pavanka family, and his book on the Camino. I've always said, Father Dave, I'm going to do it. He says, just do it. And that's exactly what we're talking about today.
Well, I don't know if I should throw this out here or not, but maybe we could do a take two walking of the Camino.
That would be fabulous.
Jerry and Debbie stand tall, something like that.
Okay.
Maybe take a group with us.
We'll
anyway,
take it on.
It's not anything we're committed to yet, folks. So
it's just an idea.
We're just musing here on Global Radio Live. That's all. So. Anyway, okay, we're going to get back to your calls in a minute. I just want to say one thing here about starting a Catholic radio station. I have had the great privilege, the honor, and the challenge. I will say that, the challenge also of helping to get Catholic radio stations started around the country. Single stations that have morphed and grown into multi-station networks, and it's really a great thing to see Catholic radio continuing to dot the United States. But there are still places, dear friends, that do not have an AM or FM station. Now, we know there are a lot of ways to listen. EWTN.com, SiriusXM, iHeartRadio, the apps, YouTube, Facebook. So, you're never far from EWTN radio programming, but still, a lot of us drive around in cars that aren't quite rigged up with all the fancy bells and whistles in terms of receiving media yet. So, if you would like to have an AM or FM station in your area, you can actually get help from EWTN. Jack Williams can give you a hand. All you have to do is give him a call, and here's the number. It's 205-795-5756, or just here's a website you can visit, EAR, which stands for EWTN Affiliate Relations, ear.ewtn.com. And Debbie, you've had a hand in so many radio stations too, and I know it's a lot of work, but a lot of joy and blessings come from it.
It's very rewarding. There's a lot of rewards that come from it. And I think, the sacrifices that are made, I think it just is amazing when you can journey with other souls and get them closer to God. So I would, if you're feeling that prompting of the Spirit, get in touch with Jack Williams. He's wonderful to talk to. And you know what, Jerry? In just a little over 2 weeks, Jack and Johnette are going to be married.
That's right.
Isn't that cool?
Yes.
I know. I'm so excited. Okay. Can I just share a couple? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, you brought up my flying lessons as being one of my, hey, I've really got to do this thing. I don't know. Did you share anything on the show yet?
I'm pretty happy. I don't know. I'm pretty peaceful. I'm in a really good place. Thanks be to God. I would like to do the Camino. That I would like to. I can tell you this. I definitely want to go to Fatima. Definitely. Want to go back to Sicily, but that's not really such a spiritual thing. It's just because that's where my roots are. So stuff like that. But I'm in a good place. I just love being with people on a day-to-day basis. And I'll tell you what, Jason called in. Thank you, Jason, from Station of the Cross listening area. You got our email now. We're going to be in touch. I want to share with you all of the wonderful, just beautiful prayers that are being lifted up for you and your girlfriend and your mom. So Jason, I'm excited you got back. Thanks for listening. We really appreciate it. Can I just share this real quickly? Anna Marie said on YouTube, she says, your life can be taken from you at any moment. You've got to take advantage of every single day. That's what Anna Marie said. And Dave said that, and from YouTube as well, the priest's homily this morning was on the need to take pilgrimages to reinvigorate, to somehow step out of the normal faith practices and the normal routines of life and to go deeper in your faith. No risk, no gain. Wow.
Good wisdom from that priest. And Steve on Facebook, EWTN Catholic Radio Facebook page, says, one of these days I'm going to live for a year in Hawaii. Well, Dave, we hope that you get to be able to do that. Let's go to Justice real quick in San Antonio. Justice, welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We have 1 minute for you, my friend. Welcome.
Howdy.
Howdy. Sorry to make you make this brief, but what's on your mind?
I just want to say that EWTN has inspired me to continue to do what God has called me to do, and God has called me to pray the news every day, if possible, on YouTube. So if you were to click in Pray the News, you'd see my mug there. And I'm just trying to pray the news locally, regionally, and worldwide every day, and just infuse the power of prayer in the news. So I just thank God that I finally stepped up to the plate after years of not doing it. Someone actually gave me a computer, and it was obvious that God was telling me, you got to pray the news and just trust that even just little prayers can change the world.
Wow. So in 30 seconds, Justice, what does praying the news consist of? Can you briefly tell us what that is?
I look up something locally, like here in San Antonio, and I look up something regionally, like in the United States, and I look up something worldwide, like around the world, and I just pray that love will abound, that leaders will be changed, that people will be converted by the power of the Holy Spirit, that ISIS and terrorists and people with bad agendas will be stopped miraculously by Jesus and the Holy Spirit. So just trusting in God and moving in that power of faith.
Wow, what a great ministry, Justice, because what you're doing is I love how you said it, you're infusing the power of prayer. And we all know that prayer is powerful. Just look at all the saints. They've all went before us and told us the power of prayer. Look at Padre Pio, relied on prayer. And what you're doing is you're taking the power of prayer and you are putting it into every situation that seems like we're never going to be able to handle this or take care of this or rectify this, but you are giving people hope through the power of prayer. Way to go, Justice. What a great ministry. More power to you. We're going to pray that the good Lord uses your gifts and talents so that more people believe in the power of prayer, because there's a lot of people out there, Justice, who don't believe in prayer. They think it's just, throwing things out there into the abyss and nothing's going to happen. And that's not true. We know that the good Lord is always there answering our prayers. It might not be in our time and may not be for the good of us, but but God does hear everything and does answer everything. Justice, God bless you. Great ministry.
Yeah, thank you so much. That sounds like a beautiful, beautiful work of spiritual mercy for the world. Tomorrow, what's the favorite part of your day? It could be when you put your feet on the ground in the morning. Others a little bit more stubborn about getting up. Maybe it's that moment you come home from work, that instant you hit the pillow at night. Maybe it's your lunch break, your coffee break. You get outside, you stroll in nature for a few minutes. If you had to say, this is my favorite part of the day, what would that be? We'll talk about that tomorrow.
Oh, I'm going to love this show. I think it's going to be a very, very active show. We just want to say thank you so much to everybody in the Take Two family. You guys are awesome, and all the wonderful comments that we receive from you. Continue the conversation until tomorrow. Have a beautiful and blessed day. See you real soon.